women tend to be a lot better than that than men, to like, yeah, share your feelings with me. And we're like, yeah, no. And maybe you're
Mhm.
better at that than I am, man. I just,
No, I go over to the coin vending machine and put my coin in and twist it, and down drops the little bubble ball, and you open it up, and there's my feeling for the day.
all right, all right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be when you're watching this amazing, amazing podcast we called Old Guys Still Rock. This is your first time here. I am Blair Armstrong. I'll shortly introduce a good friend and co-host of mine, Brent Wright. But again, right now, if this is your first time here, this is the best podcast you have ever seen as of right now. But anyway, again, I am Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong, Coldwell Banker, located in beautiful Coachella Valley, which is basically Palm Springs, Palm Desert, La Quinta, Rancho Mirage, Cathedral City, Indio. If you've been in any of those places, that is the Coachella Valley. We have a lot of sunshine, not a lot of rain, beautiful golf courses, amazing hiking trails, 2 hours from the mountain to go snow skiing, and 2 hours to the beach to go surfing, and 4 hours away if you really need to have a little bit of Vegas. So kind of like in a great little spot that I can go anywhere realistically in 2 hours, minus Vegas. But we actually have Vegas in our backyard because we have a lot of Indian casinos. The list goes on. So that's my plug for the Coachella Valley for today, which normally doesn't happen. But on my right, possibly your left, depending on how this gets edited today, again, the co-host and good friend of mine, Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated, a man that wears many, many different hats, from body shops to detail shops, to property management, payroll companies. Most recently, his wife and him opened up a wellness center that is thriving and doing some really cool, I would say, natural, possibly so holistic type of therapy to keep us healthy. And then another thing that you really don't possibly know, again, if this is your first time or first or second time coming on to watching this podcast, is Brent is very well versed in business and personal relationships. And that's been a culmination of just constantly learning new things, doing some stuff. So if you're looking for even just like a personal coach, but a business coach, strongly suggest we're in episode number 86 today. I would strongly suggest you go to episode 1 and kind of watch us through episode 85 and really find out what Brent's knowledge is. Once in a while, I have a golden nugget, but it's once in a while. But find out if that message resonates with you, and then reach out to him, and we'll talk about how to get a hold of everybody here by the end of the episode. So that was a really, really long introduction, my friend, and I am so sorry for that, but I hope that you're doing good. How are you?
Good. It's supposed to warm up to a balmy 42. We started out, it was warm today. It was 21 when I left the house. So it's been down to 16 or 17 this week. So, I'm required by law, because I am over 50, to talk about the weather. So there's my weather discussion for the day.
Well, 21 is good. I mean, for us desert rats that experience 120-degree weather for about a month and a half, possibly 2 months, it got down to 38 yesterday, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So anyway, but I mean, yeah, that was really rough. I had to end my day. Again, we've been entertaining businesses picked up dramatically in the last 10 days. And so we've been building relationships on the golf course, if you may. So thank God for sunshine. Thank God for little white balls that sometimes go far, sometimes go 5 feet, depending how well you hit it. But what else is going on? How's the wellness center? How's the detail shops, business in general? Are you feeling, I'm an open-ended question for you, because a lot of people ask me this too. Have you felt like maybe in the last 2 weeks that we're making a turn? Or are you still stagnant in what you're doing in business-wise?
So that's a very good question, and it's a multifaceted answer. So there's a lot of trepidation still in the market, especially here. So as things change nationally and globally, they tend to change a little bit slower here in the Willamette Valley. We fall off a little bit faster economically, and we come back a little bit slower economically. I will tell you that there's been a change of sentiment with our clients. People are still very price conscious. In fact, we were talking about it on a call last night for the payroll company. Business is ticked up, but people are very cost conscious and in a very negotiating mood, and feeling like that they have to push um, a almost frugal narrative. I'm feeling. I think people are cautiously optimistic. I think it is going to take through 2025 to really turn around. I think that money is not just magically flowing as a lot of people thought would happen. And so I think people are, again, just cautiously optimistic. And I think that they're I can't really tell. It's an odd dynamic. We have on it seems a little bit more divisive. People that are on the left are really having trepidatious discussions with me. People on the right are having very overly optimistic discussions, thinking that things are going to change faster than they will. The people that are in the middle have always been in the middle, and they've been the folks that have kept us going through uh, any downturns or any market blips due to emotions.
Mhm.
And so I don't really see a big change. It's fluctuating day to day.
Yeah.
It's funny because we've seen more cash, literally cash, hard money in our business, and than we've seen in years.
Hmm.
People are coming in and paying with cash instead of using credit.
Hmm.
And so that's an odd change. I don't know what that means. I haven't really completely wrapped my
Right.
head around
Right.
that, but something is shifting with people.
Interesting. Yeah, let's just watch that. I mean, that's not what we're going to talk about today. I know we could definitely go down the rabbit hole. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, here we go. And we
Mm-hmm.
really want to stay on topic, but I just guys who are watching this, tune in to kind of, if you're in business, even if you're an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur, what's your vibe? So we can have like a later discussion on this. I have some ideas, but I think that you're right. And one thing that I really picked up on, the amount of podcasts and different people are really looking into a different type of media. What we're doing here on a podcast, or maybe it's through Instagram or whatever, to it, and not really paying it. I mean, they're paying attention to big media, but not really paying attention. But I think
Mm-hmm.
just like people on both sides, kind of like, we've both been lied to a little bit. So I'm tired of hearing promises. We're going to do this, and this. And this is um, I think you're absolutely right. Through 2025, maybe 2026,
Yeah.
whoever is in the administration right now better put some rubber to the road to at least give us a real glimmer of hope and understanding of where we're going.
So we've had a lot of what I would call false economy.
Mm-hmm.
So we've flooded the market with these $600 stipends and things like that, and that's a false economy, in my opinion. Again, not to go down the rabbit hole, but I'd really like to see a shift in everybody's mindset that the government is not here to support us.
Yep.
And I think if you change that dynamic in enough people, then I think the narrative's going to change a lot faster. But that's just, again, not to go down that rabbit hole. So let's get back.
Let's just go back.
We did later in life marriage part 1 last week, and I got some good feedback from folks. I don't know if you've gotten some good feedback.
A little bit.
Yeah. I got one comment was from Gerard. He said, "Did you really did April really say that to you at the vet?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he asked her the same thing, and she's like, "Yeah." Hard and fast questions are important.
So let's stay on that, and we kind of wrap it around. Wait, do you have it up in front of you? I can pull this up
I do.
maybe. Okay, so
Yeah.
hit some takeaways from last week
So
because there's
last
some
week
things I want to build on.
the AI gave us some takeaways from last week.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional disconnect is prevalent in today's society. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about that in multiple episodes, not just
Mm-hmm.
later in life. Building community is essential for support. We also talk about that a lot. Marriage later in life comes with unique challenges. We are totally in agreement with that. I think our spouses are in agreement with that as well. Past relationships can create baggage that affects new ones. That's pretty common in relationship building, regardless of marriages or business relationships or otherwise. Effective communication is crucial in marriage. We know that to be true just in general. Leading with a servant's heart fosters a healthy relationship. That's not something that's really talked about, and I think we need to go down that road a little bit as
Mm-hmm.
after the recap. Commitment to each other and to God is vital in marriage. Again, we know that, but I think we can open that one up a little bit further. Different perspectives can enrich a relationship. Again, very common knowledge, but I think if we go down, open that up as well. Breaking down silos in communication necessary for growth in all aspects, not just in marriage, but in all aspects of your life. Personal growth is an ongoing process in marriage. And I think we really need to open that one up because we've all done 75 hard, at least me and you, and my wife has along with me. So I think we can go down that one a little bit too.
So let's start there. I've got those things up there so I can kind of go back. Let's start there, and then we'll kind of work back up the list.
Yeah.
Because I think personal growth, and especially that's kind of what we've been on the tangent with, a couple of weeks ago when we talked about, my goals of 25 million and what that's going to take place and putting boards out there, so on and so forth, right? There's growth in business, which also spurs growth in personal growth. So, when I see this, and when we talked about that a little bit, obviously last week, and one thing that I'm learning, so again, if this is your first time here, a lot of things that we talk about are stuff that it is a epiphany that has happened through us through these types of conversations or things that we're going through learning. We're sharing these experiences with you with hoping that this is a catalyst in your mind or in the things that you're doing to maybe help you get over a hurdle, or maybe you're stuck somewhere, or maybe you're thriving someplace and like, hey, you were saying this and how you were stuck on it. This is what I did. So this is not us telling you what to do. This is sharing what we're going through and hope that it helps. And also hope that we get some return. Like Brent just said a couple minutes ago, he's got some comments coming back of like, did you really say that? Now, somehow, some way, that is going to be a conversation at some point with Gerard and his significant other, correct?
Yeah.
Somewhere. So maybe be 3 years, 4 years, 10 years from now. Something that I'm actually, and knowing the little I know about Gerard is that is going to stick in his head, and he's going to work through that.
Yeah.
Which is great. And that's what we want. It's like, okay, that happened to Brent, and this is how they worked through it. And now I have a little bit of understanding how to work through it when it comes through me. So, and I think that's the personal growth. And so that's why I said is I wanted to stick on that personal growth part. Are you watching? Are there marriages that you're witnessing and watching what they do? Are you not only educating yourself in business, but maybe trying to find something to educate yourself in relationships or marriage? Which, again, I struggle with it because it brings up conversations sometimes that you don't want to go through. And you're like, I'm kind of safe right here. I'm good. I don't need to ruffle any feathers. But sometimes it's needed. Women tend to be a lot better than that than men, to like, yeah, share your feelings with me. And we're like, yeah, no. And maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
better at that than I am, man. I just
No, I go over to the coin vending machine and and put my coin in and twist it, and down drops the little bubble ball, and you open it up, and there's my feeling for the day. I had,
yeah,
that's kind of it in
yeah.
a nutshell, right? Or uh, in the Chinese food at the end, you get the fortune cookie, right?
Mhm.
There's my feeling, right? I got it off of a fortune, kind of
Yeah.
a thing. And I'm not good at connecting the dots. I'm not good at sharing them. I always have felt that it's a path of weakness. That's the way I was trained growing up.
Hmm.
That feelings are a path of weakness,
Hmm.
especially in our demographic, right? So we grew up in that Gen X scenario, and I think you even touch into that a little bit. You're kind of in that in between. So you're not a baby boomer, but you're not really Gen X. I mean, you're
Yeah,
sort of.
right. I'm kind of in that spot when you say that, when growing up, and I've learned to become an open book on this. So this is not like bagging on anybody, but I grew up in a what a lot of people would call a narcissistic household. It is what it is. Not
Mhm.
no sympathy. I'm not asking for sympathy. It is what it is. It's learned by it. And some other people that are watching this may have done the same thing. But sharing feelings was not like buck up, pull up your big boy pants,
Yep.
let's go. You can wallow in it a little bit and move forward, uh, which may not have been seem like a big deal at this time, but later in life, especially again, we're talking about later in life marriages. It is
Right.
a massive hurdle to work through.
Hmm.
Chrissy and I are going on 8 years of marriage, still have massive holes that need to be filled up with just because of past experiences of what I thought in my world, because the way that I grew up was the way it was supposed to be. When Chrissy's asking me questions, again, this is really on the personal growth part. So again,
Hmm.
hoping this is going to personal growth with marriages. But when Chrissy's asking me questions, she's not only trying to get information to feel to it's more of like, how are you feeling? And it's not that she can fix it, but it's a lot of, for what I'm slowly realizing. So Chrissy, when you're watching this, it's resonating. I'm just trying to figure it all out. It's slowly helping her understand of where I am in the process of going through of sharing feelings. Because in her world, she's really good. Like, they had an open communication, everyone shared their stuff, blah blah blah, and that's the way that they grew up.
Hmm.
And it's when you're not in it, you're like, why is it so hard for you to do this? I'm like, I don't know how to do it. But I'm learning the process, and sometimes, but with that, when those questions is, I can become very combative. Um, like, dude, back off. We're not going down this path, because I may be, that question may come up or whatever, and it's not intentional. It's just, she cares about where I'm at life, and how can she assist with her knowledge and her wisdom to get better.
Hmm.
Um, it's that puts me sometimes in a dark spot, or in a defensive spot, and when I'm having a good day, I don't want to go there. And so that's where I come combative. And I don't know if
Well,
that's ever happened to you.
yeah, inadvertently, it's when you're having the best day is when
Right.
somebody wants to go down that path, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or you're like, man, we're just in the best spot we've ever been. Why are you bringing this up?
Right.
Why are you bringing this hard thing? Well, it's because we've talked about this before several times. So when you rip a hole in the universe, then the
Yep.
universe tries to fill it. You're not ripping a hole in the universe and saying, just fill it with the good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's you fill it with every piece of it, and we don't deal with it really well. But going back to our guidebook, you and I talk about this openly. That our guidebook is the Bible. Ecclesiastes 3:1-11 describes how there's a season for everything, including birth, death, planting, and more. And so, if you guys, biblical or not, or spiritual or not, or Christian or not, take a look at that. verse, Ecclesiastes 3:1-11, and it gives you the breakdown that there's a reason for everything. So in not just in every marriage, true that as well, but in later in life marriage, there's a reason for everything that's happening to you, and it's perfectly timed to fit that narrative. So when I think personal growth, tying it back into this bullet point, when I think personal growth, I think that you have to first take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually before you can add value to anybody else in a relationship. And so if you are not healthy, overweight, eating like garbage, drinking like a fish, smoking 10 cigars a day, it is likely you're going to have a harder relationship with everybody that you interact with, not just your spouse, right? And so, us taking care of ourselves and going through 75 hard together, April and I did, we put ourselves first, and then which got us, believe it or not, closer in our relationship during 75 hard, because it's the circadian rhythm, it's the reticular activator. So we were on the same circadian rhythm, getting up at the same time, doing the same things, having the same, pains, suffering. Possibly, she's obviously younger, but she has different pains and suffering than I do. I struggle with arthritis, I struggle with a broken back, I struggle with all those things, and so things that she's not dealing with because she hasn't gone through those things, but similarly placed, same pains due to 75 hard. The reticular activator part of it is that we are at day 51, we felt similar. You and I felt similar at day 51, right? And so it's still an ongoing process, and allowed us to connect on a different level. So, at her age, did she need to go through 75 hard? Maybe not. Some folks choose to. We chose to do it together, so that way we could align spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and all those things.
Yeah, I think that's such a big deal, and you're constant, on personal growth purposes, especially when we're talking about marriage. We've talked about this in the past episodes: is how are you investing to other people, having that servant leadership, right? This is the ultimate test of how your relationships in life are going to be, of really getting in and digging in, and like when it is a knockout, drag out in the mud, both sides not agreeing in that relationship, of how you work through it. And it takes a lot. And again, this is not, I'm 22 years old and in my first relationship. We're really focusing on this last episode and today's episode of these marriages later on in life. And there could be a lot of baggage, and that has to be dug through, and sifted through, or I guess dirt, maybe not baggage, but dirt that has to be dug through and sifted through to become better. No one wants to be in multiple, like being in a relationship and starting all over again, and being in another relationship and starting all over again. I don't want to put it in this aspect. It's more expensive, and maybe this for people that are in business, and I'll tie this in a little bit. It is a lot better to invest into an employee and keep them for life, instead of just not caring and not investing to them and constantly turning over. So it's more expensive for the turnover than it is to stay invested, right?
Well, that's a nice political way of saying it's cheaper to keep her, right? And
cheaper
vice
to keep
versa.
Her, but I'm not, and I don't want to sound so shallow to that, but it's the same thing. It's more expensive to get out of a relationship personally. I'm not talking about financially.
Yeah.
Personally, it's more expensive to get out of a relationship, because you're not fixing the issue, what was wrong with the past one. As shitty as it is, that's the first swear word of this week. as it is going through it, you just gotta fight. And I said this last week, without God and our faith, and sometimes our faith is we're all in, and some days the faith is a little waning, but we have that faith that God has brought us together, and that He will heal everything. And it's been ugly at times, but without that, there is not that ownership of investment to that relationship. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Some people are like, oh, I don't need God to have an investment. Well, are you in your second or your third or your 15th relationship? Whatever. I could not throwing stones at glass houses, but because I've been through them, there was a void in my relationships when God was not involved. That's my feeling.
Well, speaking of voids, try having a 16 slash almost 17-year difference and having the
Right.
delta being application, right? So my version of disrespect is different than April's version of disrespect. My version of servant leadership is different than April's version of servant leadership. And there's been some impasses. So, like, you and Chrissy are similar age group. There might be, like, you guys might listen to the same music. You guys might listen to the same or read the same genres, watch the same movies. I have movie quotes that I use in my day-to-day communication that weren't, they were, the movies were filmed 2 years before April was born. And so it's there's a hard to relate. So the last, I can't remember if it was last night or the night before, I said I was watching something and a post came up and it said, on today's date 42 years ago, Def Leppard Pyromania came out as an album.
Wow, dude.
I was like, I was there at the music store and bought it the day it came out 42 years ago.
That's insane, bro.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
My wife is not 42 years old. And so and I said it to her and she's like, okay. I mean, she
Doesn't
knows
resonate, right?
she knows who Def Leppard is, but she wasn't there. I was 10. I went to the music store and I got the record, the LP, and went home and slid it open and slid and put it on the record player and played it for the first time and heard Action Not Words. Right? For old guys that still rock, that is an amazing
great song.
Right?
Love that song. You hear it right now. I'm not going to sing it, but I can hear it.
I know. Neither one of us can sing. We're not even great singing, in church or in the shower. So,
right.
At least for me, it is when I sing at church. People clear a 6 foot area around me so they don't have to hear me. Right. So, I got a lot of heart, but no soul. No soul when it comes to music acumen. And so with that, it's a difficult connection sometimes. Not just for me, but for her. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I know who Def Leppard is, but man, why is that important? Beastie Boys' License to Ill came out in 1986. We talked about this last episode. She was -2. Interesting, right?
Well, it's but it's important because I think, especially, when you say that later life and marriages tend to be that can be a significant age gap on either side, either women's older or the men's older, whatever, but it could be significant. And that is another hurdle in communication. As you said that it's a challenge. Before Chrissy, I've dated younger and you're like, trying to explain stuff and like, what?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what am I doing? But it also, the reason why it could be a hurdle is sometimes that can create a superiority complex. Like, oh, I just know more than you.
Yeah.
And that's not good at all. Again, been there, done that. It's just, sometimes I still do that too. It's just
one of our hurdles is, like I've ridden my Harley across the United States a couple, 2 or 3 times. And I've seen things that, or April's probably only seen in movies or books or heard about or seen in Instagram or Facebook. And I'm like, yep, I stopped there. I was riding this motorcycle. After that, we went here and did that. And she's like, you did all the fun stuff before me. And I'm like, yes, but I also had 17 years more to do that stuff and a different mindset. So when you don't have kids and you don't have houses and you don't have businesses and you don't have responsibilities, it's different. I set my life up. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I set my life up to where I just could lock the gate at my business and I could go away for 3 weeks and it didn't affect me financially. And if it did, it wasn't noticeable to the point where it was a problem. That right now the machine has to be so big to move the needle incrementally. I'm looking at things in a whole different light. Like I have a legacy to build, and I'm late in life. I mean, 52 years old. My son's going to be a senior in high school when I retire. When I'm of retirement age, when I'm 64, he's going to be he just graduated from high school, and so it's not just marriages or relationships later in life. It's all the things that come with it that add to the pile. So I have 20,000 things more to do today than I did when I was 30. And I have half the body left and half the energy left and half the emotional wherewithal and twice the emotional baggage.
You said something just a couple minutes ago that April goes, man, you did all the fun things before marriage. And I think that a lot of people, and I'm sure that maybe there's some things that April did that you thought, wow, that would have been cool if we would have done it together. And I know Chrissy's business life of stuff that she was in, she had a lot of going to the Masters and horseback riding and to different countries and just this. She was a corporate girl. And she got to do some really cool stuff that I haven't got to do. You're like, oh man, that would have been really fun to do it. But this just popped in my head, and maybe I picked it up somewhere. But those instances, you riding across the United States on a Harley 3 times and being some different spots, and how it appears to be fun, and most likely it was. There were some cool experiences, right? But those experiences are fleeting; they're gone. And now you and I, married later in life, have been given an opportunity by God to have the women in our lives that we have, but now we're sharing life with them, right?
It's different.
And it's different. And it's just, those are just things that I'm slowly realizing, like, yeah, that was cool and that was fun. And, when sometimes times get by, it's like, God, I remember when I'd be able to do this. But it was like the next day it was done. Okay, that was fun. Yeah, it was awesome. So now, again, just popped in my head what you're saying. It's like, yeah, you probably did some really cool stuff. And, and Chrissy's done some cool stuff and April's done some cool stuff. And I probably, in her eyes, have done some cool things that we haven't done together. But now we got life, man, and how that resonates for eternity, realistically.
Well, on that, I wasn't happy.
Right.
I wasn't fulfilled. Obviously. Right. Yeah. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't, my cup didn't get filled up. I wasn't full every day. The things that really make me happy aren't caravanning around the country. It's coming home to my spouse who cares for me so deeply that I can feel it when I walk into the room. I can see it in her eyes. That's fulfilling.
Yeah.
I didn't have that before. Like I said before, I was a week to 10 days away from, getting a vasectomy and never having kids. And I don't know what I would do today if I didn't have kids, because I feel so empty when they're gone. When they're at school, dude, I miss them, like physically miss them, mentally miss them, emotionally miss them. I know they need to grow and prosper, and I can't just hold them and cuddle them all day long. But man, alive, those times are fleeting, like you said, and just the difference in the quality of life that I have today is hugely exponential compared to what it was when I was doing all those cool things before I met April.
Yeah. And you had opportunities, right? Too. I mean, we can look back at this, and it's no disrespect, April, at all when I say this, but there was opportunities that you could have had that life, and for whatever reason, God didn't have you in that space. He kept you for April, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I just find that interesting. 10 days away from getting a vasectomy, it just the the gifts that we are given, that once you peel back the onion and understand why the gifts are given, is pretty spectacular in how that person that comes into your life. And that's why, hopefully, being later in life, like, okay, maybe this is your second, third, possibly fourth chance at a solid relationship, is when are you going to take, really wrapping up the last couple of things we talked about, when are you going to take the time to do personal growth so you don't have to go through the pain of loss,
Mm-hmm.
right? When are you going to take the time to be a servant leader, being like, yeah, you may have done cool stuff, but how are you going to serve and lead at the same time? A servant leadership, right? Give more than you take,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we've
Um,
talked about it before in previous, I think, first 10, 12 episodes, somewhere along the line of give 150% and expect nothing in return.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you do that in every relationship, not just your marriage, not just but in every relationship, you're going to exponentially be better.
Yeah. Again, it's a cost of investment, and the investment is priceless if you really cherish. I go back to, I keep going every time that I'm starting to talk to, I go back to the book that you have recommended, and we just finished a couple days ago, but the Four Agreements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just so prevalent to have into just with whatever you do. But again, we're talking about later in life marriages or later in life relationships. Being impeccable with your word, and honestly being you, and not letting other people get in your way to unveil you. And when I say that, a true spouse wants you to flourish and be who you are, not somebody fake, right?
Yeah.
You want to be with somebody fake, then go on and date somebody and do whatever, be superficial about it. Don't take your past experiences, and I'm basically quoting Four Agreements in different words. Don't take past experiences and put those assumptions on your relationship that you're in now, that you want to last forever. Okay. And lastly, be the best damn person you could possibly be that day. You're not going to win every day, but that day, today, be
Mm-hmm.
the freaking best person you could be.
Yeah.
Um, and well, obviously with everything that you do, but again, we're concentrating on later life marriages and or relationships that are, it's tough, dude. And
Well, let's go into different perspectives can enrich your relationship. This one's a real hot topic for me. Um, because although, and you said it earlier, well, I have the experience, so my word's final. That's not served me really well
oh, me, yeah, for
at
sure.
all, right? And so, and the reason why I say that is because different perspectives. So, April might think that some of my tactics are outdated or outmoded, and I might think that she might not have enough experience to make the right decision or the right suggestion. What I found is that although may be true in certain instances, I have opened up my mind to believing that I need to hear and understand and really take into her perspective. The amount of great ideas that we have formulated together with two different perspectives, right? Her idea might not have been all the solution. My idea or perspective might have not have been all the solution, but combined her youth and energy along with my experience, we might have come to a solution that was not an impasse in our relationship, and it was better served. The wellness center, for instance, not my idea, not my dream. She needed to create the vision and cast the vision, and then I helped her execute on the vision. I would have never come up with that. She likely could have figured out how to start the business, run the business, get the cash, do all the things, but it might have taken her longer with a lot more anxiety, a lot longer process, right? She might not have been able to do it in 121 days. However, there were certain things that I couldn't have done in that 121 days without her input. And then going back to leading with a servant's heart, it's my job to show up for my wife in the way that she needs me to show up, not the way that I think I need to show up. And I have to be open to listen and open to hear and open to understand and open to execution on what she needs. And sometimes that's really tough.
Yeah. More so than not sometimes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we go back to when we go into the very beginning. It's why we try to avoid those situations, because it's tough and it's hard to process. So,
but that's where growth happens. We've talked about that so many times. Growth happens in the most painful opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good stuff today, dude.
Yeah. I think we're just still scratching the surface, but we keep clawing at it a little bit. I think that we'll get there. I don't know if there's going to be a part 3 or not. I don't know what that looks like. I think we'll have to flesh that out and see if there's an opportunity for some wisdom in part 3. But really, if you're going through this or you're in the middle of it or you're thinking about it, please reach out to us. I'd love to chat. I'd love to hear your comments. And really, don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. And thank you for the question, Gerard. That was definitely an interesting discussion after that question. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, we do love those comments, especially when you walk up to us and, you know, outside of this podcast or ask us personally. Want to go back, and I know that you guys doing the Andy's and Kyle's and the McCumbers and Gerard's and stuff like that. When you have that, or when you're done sharing the show and you're watching this episode, put those comments or questions into the comment section of either YouTube or Spotify so we can read those and share those with everybody. You know, everyone's affected by this somehow, some way. Maybe you haven't been married for 30 something or 40 something years and you're struggling. What are you doing to get out of it? Where are you stuck? And let's ask that question. You don't have to put your name. We won't put your name to it if you don't want to, but at least ask the question, or this is how I got through this hurdle, or, you know, my experiences with this. So share that so we can share that with everybody else. But
or maybe you're not an old guy that still rocks. Maybe you're young like Gerard, and he's just starting to get to that point where he's thinking about being married and he has questions like, how would I deal with this? If you're in that spot, we're happy to chat as well. And in fact, you know, I think that if you are in that spot where you're thinking about it, I think that's probably the best place to be, is ask people who've gone through it before.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? On your final thoughts?
Just go make a damn difference. I'm telling you, every little piece. Again, my word for the year is value. My word last year was unreasonable. If you combine them, create unreasonable value in all of your interactions. Okay.
Bravo, dude. Bravo. All right, guys, until we see each other next week, stay safe, but most of all, God bless, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.